What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to the Chariot Friends. Justin here, and how you feeling? The moon is in Gemini. You know, this was an interesting one that I was kind of reflecting as I was getting prepped for this. This Gemini is associated with the lovers in tarot, which is about our choices that we make. And Gemini is the mutable air. I think Gemini 1 minute can be here and 1 minute can be there, and that back and forth. And there's something here. I think it's just about observing the consequences of the choices that we make sometimes, whatever that means, positive, negative, however that might be looking. But we're gonna look at that from all sides here in a moment. But before we jump into that, if you're new here, again, my name is Justin, and know that when you're coming across this video, you're in sync with the moon, and who doesn't love that? But this is also a place for you if you happen to have Cancer in your placements, Sun, Moon, Rising, maybe Mercury, wherever. This one's for you. Or if you just want to sync up with the moon, we could all benefit from that. And then I do tarot card spreads based off that lovely luminary, the good old moon. And I'll talk about what sign it's in, what phase it's in, and when it's going void, of course, just all them lunar shenanigans. And just so you're all aware, this is a general reading, not a one-to-one. So take what fits into your story, discard the rest, and everything will be dope. Now, let's jump into it. Because, yeah, like just looking at your general energy is busy. We got a lot of changing lines here, but Gemini's busy. so it seems appropriate during this time. But before we get into that, depending on when you're watching this, Happy Moon Day. The moon is associated with Mondays, and I find that this is a really great time with the moon days to really just check in with how you're feeling. This can be a great time for, I like the moon days and even like moon hours to do just like some kind of chores around the house, really just paying attention to the emotions. And I find too how you're feeling, and think about maybe how you're starting your day and see how that really sets the tone. Because sometimes I think when we get to Mondays get a bad rap. I was born on a moon day. And I think when you get, or any day when you're just like, ugh, this thing, that's the tone. That flavors the tone throughout the day. Even if things happen to fluctuate, it'll still have that underlying ugh. So I think there's something there with the moon, just kind of checking in with that, see where you are. Because the moon's busy. The moon deals with the emotions, and it waxes and wanes often. So I find that moon days are really just a great day of just kind of checking in and being observant of those around you as well. I think that the intuition is heightened during the moon days, and just if someone's feeling type of way, maybe this could be a time to discuss some things if they feel approachable. Other times, just like maybe I'm gonna let them sit with that for a moment. So that's just a couple things that I think about with when we get into moon days. But one thing that I also like doing with these planetary days is just thinking about my relationship with the moon. What sign do I have in natally, and what house? And even thinking about lunar transits. The moon can move really fast, but you can still get a general idea. I find when you start tracking them, the moon doesn't seem quite so like it's doing. I mean, it's doing a lot, but it doesn't seem quite so overwhelming, especially when you break them down kind of by like planetary days. But you can even, like, for example, Gemini's an active time for my chart. It's lighting up a good, minus my sun, it's lighting up all the rest of it. In my midheaven, it's lighting up all my other placements. It's sextiles with all my Leo placements, trine with Saturn, which I love that. And so, yeah, this could be like, maybe if you have like a lot of Sag, this one might be where you got a lot of oppositions going on there. Maybe like Pisces or Virgo, where there's some tension there, or maybe you got like Libra or Aquarius. And again, there's this movement that can happen with the moon in Gemini. So I find that just like observe how those energies look each cycle gives you a really good idea of how that, and working with your lunar return charts. I love working with return charts, but the lunar return in particular, that one is a nice one. It gives you a month by month basis, gives you some themes to kind of focus on, and it's interesting to see how it translates. And even too, one last little thing, looking into like the secondary progressions, watching the progressed moon, that's some that's some really wild stuff with the progressed moon. When you see different dates and stuff lining up, I'm actually in the middle of a pretty big progressed moon thing right now. So watching that unfold is actually really exciting. So just something to just kind of pay attention to there. But let's continue the lunar shenanigans, because on the 28th of April, the moon is going to enter into Gemini at about 11:35 p.m., and that's going to be Pacific time, and we're in a waxing crescent phase. And I kind of like this combination. I'm not kind of, I actually really like this combination of Gemini in combination with the waxing crescent, because whatever you're building up during this Taurus lunar cycle, this would be the time where you're starting to get curious, where you're starting to explore different things. Let's say maybe you're exploring new ways of eating, maybe new ways of movement, maybe new ways of self-expression, maybe exploring your relationships in a different way. I find that this can be the time to just to just explore those different methods. Because with Gemini, they're the mutable air sign, and they're active or yang in nature. The ruler is Mercury. And I find that Gemini does have a powerful mind. They can absorb things very, very quickly. I think there's a real sharpness and a perceptivity that I don't think really gets honed in. Yeah, Gemini's the communicators, of course, but they listen and they're seeing things. And, it's just like, it's a very, I think, a very observing sign. So I think that this can be too, and I always talk about with Gemini energy, that energy needs to be curious, needs to get out there and have the mind not just full of just random things. I think that's the one sort of caveat with Gemini. You're just not trying to fill your stuff up just for knowledge sake. Knowledge that is going to be of use for you later, that you can pass along as well. There's an ingenious energy to the Gemini, and I think that when the moon is in an air sign, it helps to bring together that head and emotional kind of heart aspect together. Like, what do I really think about what am I feeling, and how am I feeling about what I'm thinking? It can get a little complex there, but I think that helps to differentiate the two, because there is a difference. I think that that's something that I've been observing as someone with the moon in Gemini. I'll hear just kind of like conversation that's like, oh, I feel like this or I feel like that, and it's like, do you feel that, or are you thinking that you should do that? That's just something that just crosses my mind sometimes. So that's a little invitation there for, I think, that when the moon's in Gemini. But this can be really exciting time. Gemini is a very active mental energy, great for communication and things along those lines, meeting up with people and things. So definitely invite you to explore that Gemini energy in that way. But let's go ahead and let's continue talking a little bit, because let's get into your general energy of the day. Because as you see, it's lit up. You got 4 changing lines here. And this energy is heaven over wind. And, it really does, when I think about heaven, like if you know the image of the lovers, I'm thinking about in the Rider-Waite deck, where you have this guardian angel that's over the Adam and Eve figures in a sense. And that's just giving me like heaven is passing some messages down through the wind here. But if you want to, check out for your changing line to get line 2, 3, 5, and 6. And I have a link in the description box that has all of the hexagrams there, so that you can check those out, meditate on them, and see which ones resonate with you, how they resonate with you. Could be some very useful information, some really cool things that you can get as you kind of ponder these energies over the next couple of days while the moon's in Gemini. But let's go ahead and get into your first energy here, which is line 2, and it talks about there is fish in the kitchen, faultless but inappropriate for guests. And I don't know if you've ever cooked fish in a house. I remember living somewhere. I was living in Florida, and the place I was staying at, this person, great cook, but they were cooking fish, and fish lingers. Fish is not attractive smell. Even when I was eating meat, I didn't care for the smell of fish. But metaphorically, this feels like if there's something that you're dealing with, something that you need to air out, something that you've been ignoring possibly there, I think that this energy is saying that it's you're faultless for doing that, but it would be an inappropriate time maybe to have people right now. This one may be where that Gemini energy maybe needs to be a bit more introspective, maybe needs to be a conversation between you and source. Like maybe we're reflecting on a situation that has passed, something again that maybe we've been ignoring for a while, and now maybe that it's had some time to sit, maybe we're feeling ready to approach it a little bit more. I think it's just a time to get curious about any sort of things that you've been kind of putting on the back burner there. And maybe there's some sort of conversations, maybe there's some sort of like important paperwork or things that you're needing to be doing. But definitely take this time. I don't think this energy is like not one where we're necessarily seeking advice just yet. We need to really kind of make sense of it before I think that we're able to, so that we can talk about whatever it is that's going on, whatever this fishy smell is. We can talk about this more intelligibly and more, if feel more confident in what's going on within us. So that's just something that really kind of is coming up there with that fish in the kitchen. Now let's get to the third line here, because things are starting to progress a little bit. The third line talks about smarting in the buttocks. His steps are tottery, danger, no great woes. Now, there's something here that, like, it kind of even harkens back to that fish in the kitchen. Something is starting to, now it went from being just like an aroma, something that we were sensing, to now we're really feeling it. It's a pain in the butt, literally. And it's getting to this place where maybe a situation is starting to get a bit precarious. We're starting to lose some ground. There's a danger of things getting out of hand here, whatever that is. I don't think it's something where, of course, it talks about no great woes, but if you can see that something is getting ready to topple down, or that's something that is like, that's just needing your attention, then this would be a time, I think, to not waver on this thing. And again, apply these lines, as and not all of these lines may apply to your situation there, but just something to meditate on. But I do think that the longer that you leave something not dealt with, the bigger the situation is going to be. It'll go from you having the choice, going from a lover situation to like a tower situation where the external forces just do something, where spirit gives you just that gentlest nudge into the direction that you're needing to deal with there. So if that's something that you're kind of getting some, I check on that. just check on it. Now let's get into the fifth line, because this one talks about wrapping melon with leaves of staple grain. And just a little side note on that one. Apparently, that's an act of sacrilege. Like doing an offering like this, it's misuse of this offering here. And it talks about the downfall of Shang. It brought wrath from heaven. And so the analogy that came to mind when I was kind of meditating on this one was like, if you've ever gone to, let's say you had a project that was due for school, and then you had all this time, but then you put it off till last minute, and you present this thing that really wasn't your best work, and it brings down the wrath of heaven in the form of a teacher, letting you know that what the F, what is this? How did you even think that was going to work? So I think that this is, you see how things are just like steadily progressing here with these lines, but I feel like it's something that we can tackle it right early at that second and third line here, and really think about too, I think, how you go to present something. How is this going to be perceived? Because that got me even thinking about too, that axis between like Gemini and Sagittarius. Sagittarius, I find, usually gets known as the blunt sign. Just, they say the truth, whether that's hard, no matter how harsh that may land. But Gemini does something similar, but they're more glib than I think is blunt. Gemini will say things in the moment, and it's just like, I've done this, where you just like, the mouth gets ahead of your head sometimes, and you say something just like, oops, try to laugh that one off. But I do think that with Gemini, you can only laugh so many things off. Eventually, that will catch up to you. So, yeah, I think that there's just something here too. Like if you've been in, if you've, I think this is a time, and this I think goes into the next line. And actually, let me just go ahead and get into the next line, because I think this wraps up the messages pretty well. Because hexagram, or the line 6, talks about rendezvous in the corner. Awkward, but blameless. And so I think that let's say if this was a conversation that you had, maybe if going back to that teacher analogy, maybe they go to they're like, hey, such and such, what's going on here? What did you think this was? And it's like, what? I've had a lot of stuff maybe going on at home. Maybe there's been some relationships. Maybe there's been something in the family. Maybe there's something with finances. Maybe there's something with just like a spiritual thing, whatever this might be. It may feel a little awkward to have to be that vulnerable, but it helps to give people that opportunity to, I guess, show that compassion, to show that understanding, and where again, the situation may be awkward, but I think that things ultimately will be resolved over time. And I think that's sometimes what I think that's the kind of beauty of Gemini energy sometimes is that even when things go south, really south, that Gemini I think has a way of seeing things from they're the twins in the zodiac. So they have a way of I think with some time processing things, either they'll talk with you about it or they're just gonna like you're just gonna move on. Because I'll tell you, just kind of last little thought on that. I grew up with my mother has her son in Gemini. I have my moon in Gemini. We've had our moments, and we're in an interesting phase right now where we had a little bit of beef, and now it's just like fine. Is it really fine? There are some things that maybe that need to be addressed with, but we're getting there. So yeah, that's I think the kind of beauty of Gemini. I think something to keep in mind too, even if you did kind of f up a little bit, or if this is someone else that did that. I think that there's don't be afraid to especially if this is, let's say, vice versa. Let's say someone did something with you, they presented their melon with staple grains. We bring the wrath of heaven because like what are you doing? But also like if you feel like you want to do this, maybe creating the space to hear them out and to maybe see like, oh, okay, where that wasn't cool, but I at least get where you're coming from. And we'll get over this with some time. Let me just see how I feel about it. So those are, just some interesting energies. I think to think about, maybe having a rendezvous with spirit if you're not sure. Something that I've even been exploring, when I have just like some choices, maybe just like some like little mundane choices that I want to make. I'll just toss a coin on it here lately. And you know what? I've been getting some good insights. It's spirit's got your back. So but just some things to think about there, and we'll go ahead and get in. We'll get some more information here as we get into the tarot. But before we get into that, a couple of things I want to cover. These readings that I do, they're not gender-specific readings, so apply these energies to people as they make sense for your situations. And then I'm going to talk about different topics, whether it be covering finances, medical, legal things, romantic advice, but they're by no means professional advice. Definitely seek out your financial advisors, your doctors, healers, lawyers, couples therapists, things along those lines for sure. But let's go ahead. Let me tell you what I'm doing first. So I'm going to be pulling 6 cards, and yeah, they're each going to cover different themes, and I'm going to get clarifiers since we got the changing lines for 2, 3, 5, and 6. I'm going to get clarifiers for cards 2, 3, 5, and 6. But let's go ahead and get into your first card here, which talks about any sort of like short-term money matters. But I also like to think of this one as too, it's just like how you're maybe even spending your time, but just where the resources are going. Ooh, interesting. I'm with it. So you have the 2 of Wands up right here. And this to me is this is a call for action. This could be where you're maybe thinking about maybe making some sort of like endeavor, like some sort of investment. Maybe you've been like, it just feels like how this 2 of Wands, how this guy has this world in their hand. I think that it's just like looking at like, have you really been maybe making the most of the resources that have been presented to you? I think it's even like finding a newer way, a newer choice for how to expend your money, your time, your energy, and things with the 2 of Wands. This is a very powerful card, a very, very potent card. And this just gives me here an energy of needing to feel maybe more stable, feel maybe more in control, or more in like having a better grasp on a situation. Maybe you just feel like you've been kind of feeling pulled to and fro with life, and now this is a time for an opportunity for you to see where maybe if you've been in this reactive sort of energy, now it's time to get something more. You're just feeling a bit more stable, feeling like a more kind of conscious choices as opposed to like maybe sort of impulsive things that are coming through there. This could even be too. I think there's an opportunity here for. Yeah, some sort of like, I think, really cool investment, whether this is maybe you're investing in stocks or maybe you're investing in like a business idea, something along those lines. I think this 2 of Wands very supportive of that type of energy there. Now let's get into your next card, which talks about any sort of like medical matters and things along those lines. Let's see how the body's doing. All right, so you have the Six of Swords here. And that's interesting. I got an energy like if you've been maybe experiencing some sort of health things, this could be maybe where you're needing to travel somewhere, maybe getting to where maybe if you live in a lot of maybe if you have like let's say like an asthma, for example, some lung issues, this could be maybe booking, and maybe that's what this Two of Wands is booking a trip somewhere to maybe where you can get some fresh air for a while, maybe going on vacation, maybe going somewhere by some water, maybe by an ocean or maybe by a lake, or and that might be something too. Maybe if there's the stress levels have been a little high, getting by some water, or getting something where you're just feeling the kind of the ebb and flows of this stuff of life in a sense. But I think this is too moving on. This could be where maybe you're leaving behind certain habits that you used to have. Maybe there used to be where there was like overeating involved, or maybe undereating involved, or something where we're just like, we're moving on to different shores here. We're moving on to a new opportunities presented itself. And this is an energy here, how they may feel some type of way. I'm getting a heaviness with this because they're just going with the clothes on their back, and I think that this thing here is like, it feels like something that maybe was involved in your journey for a while, and so letting those types of things go can bring up some feelings. But I also think it's thinking about what is filling up that space that you're getting ready to leave behind here. But let's go ahead and get a clarifier on the Six of Swords here. Let's see what's going on with that one. Nice. All right, so you got the Queen of Swords up right here. And this to me is like, the Queen of Swords is sharp. She's very perceptive. She knows when there are things where there are certain trends and patterns that are getting in the way of maybe this forward growth here that's happening, this momentum here. And that might even be something that's going on. Again, it kind of ties back. I'm feeling a relationship between this Two of Wands and the Six of Swords. But this Queen of Swords could be seeing things clearer now. She's getting this view where it's like, okay, this is how I want to, making peace with the situation, forming a new sort of contract with whatever path that you're getting ready to take now. And this could be where, excuse me, if you've thought about, because I'm getting an energy of talking with someone, but I almost got a little bit of a chastising energy with the Queen of Swords. This could be where maybe you just kind of going back to your hexagram real quick. That it's like maybe you've been trying to, maybe there's been like a plan that's been laid out, but you haven't been getting the results, and maybe you've been saying like, oh, it's been this, oh, it's been that, but now the doctor, let's say for example, kind of confronts you. It's like, hey, we've been doing this thing for a while and there hasn't been this thing. What's going on? Or because like after a while, if you're keeping something, let's say if this is like a medical thing, then that could potentially get a bit dangerous, because then maybe doctors are trying to adjust like dosages, and then like it gets things out of whack. So that's just another thing, definitely consult with your health professional, of course, but that's just another thing that I'm kind of getting there as well. Very interesting. Now let's get into your third card here, which talks about any sort of like legal matters or social affairs, things along those lines. Let's see what's going on with that energy. Interesting. All right, so you got the Two of Cups in reverse here. And there could be some discord maybe that's going on. I'm getting that maybe there's conversations of a split that's possibly happening there. That could be a lot of disharmony when we're talking with the two of cups being in reverse here. Or maybe if it things like this doesn't have to be where you got this like, oh yep, gotta get that separation, whatever that is. No, it could be just more so that maybe with like, hey, I'm noticing that things aren't going the way, like we've lost our groove in a sense. You know, if this is some sort of like, and this could be in marriage, this could be in like a business partnership, something where there's some sort of like contract involved here. And now we're just kind of like, how can we maybe bring this thing back here? Or maybe it might be time to end things here. And this might be too, maybe there's something going on in your social sphere where maybe you've been feeling this energy of, you know, you're ready to move on, you're seeing things clearly, you're ready to make these maybe lifestyle changes, and that doesn't seem to be resonating with the group possibly here. It's starting to, maybe you're noticing it's starting to ruffle some feathers or starting to create some rifts with things that maybe wasn't expected, and now we're not quite sure how to go from here, maybe what to do with that. But let's get a clarifier on this two of cups here and get a little bit more with this. Ooh. All right. Oh, yeah. So you got the Knight of Cups in reverse here, and this is, yeah, giving me just like a lot of just like maybe some it's like something is run dry possibly here. It's like it's the Knight of the because the Knight of Cups is a very passionate figure, complex emotions that the Knight of Cups feels, and that might be what's going on right now. Just really not quite sure how to feel this one out right now. And that even kind of goes back to where between your line 2 and 3 of the hexagram here, where this may be a time, it may not be inappropriate for guests right now. You may need to take some space, take some time to figure out where you want to go with this, because you're sensing that something is getting out of hand here, that you're ready to, you know, maybe the emotions are starting to get out a bit out of control or something, or starting to lose the reins on the emotions here with the Knight of Cups. So that's definitely something that I would keep in mind of. And if this is a legal situation, I would be too, you know, some sort of court case, for whatever it may be. I'd be mindful about getting into where emotions can get out of control, can kind of stir you a little bit, because those things are going to have consequences. Excuse me, whatever that looks like. So that's just something that I would definitely kind of keep an eye on that as well. All right. Let's go ahead and get to your fourth card here, which talks about any sort of like or sort of like marriage, or sort of like partnerships, romantic situations, things along those love, all those things. Oh, okay. So you got the four of Pentacles in reverse here, and this to me, it's looking like how we've been investing, I think, in certain relationships, especially if you, because this could be where, you know, if you because the Four of Pentacles can be a sort of like a savings card for me, like a bank card. So if there's something that's maybe going on with like finances, for example, here, this could be where finances in a relationship, I think, are tricky. And I think that that's something where if you're having a hard time, maybe even like looking for like a sort of like a financial therapist, maybe to kind of help you work through this thing here, if that's something, or maybe like a couples therapist here. But maybe this is too, I think that there's not, maybe that's been not maybe been enough time or something that's been invested in a certain relationship. Maybe certain areas have just gotten a little bit weaker. Possibly here we've been neglecting certain things, and now it's time to kind of build, kind of put some energy back into that possibly here. But I'm even getting this energy here of sort of like this hoarding where it's like we don't want to, maybe kind of like closed yourself out a little bit, where you're afraid of maybe people are just going to take from you, and we're too afraid to give something. But it's just I'm getting something here. It's like people can't take from them if we don't allow them to. It's not other people's jobs to uphold our boundaries. It's our job to uphold our boundaries. And when those lines are being crossed, then we let that person know. And then if they continue to, then of course, then we have to take appropriate actions, whatever that's looking like. But yeah, and I'm just getting this energy here. It's like instead of like maybe even like cutting something out, it's just like what what do we need to fill this thing? Like how do we get more of this, like, let's say there's been a lot of like stress around finances, things like, how can we bring the opposing energy for that, the opposite of that? How can we feel at peace? Maybe we need to make some adjustments and some things, but it's like it's something that you, I think, can do together. And but again, that's not, I never would tell you what to do. So that's just something I think to just maybe consider if that resonates with you. But let's go ahead and get into your fifth card here, which talks about any sort of like immediately pressing affairs. Let's see what's going on in the now. All right, so you got the Five of Pentacles here. And the Five of Pentacles can be upright here. And the Five of Pentacles can be about feeling in this place of poverty, of feeling in this doubt here. And maybe it's harkening back to that going back to the Four of Pentacles. Maybe someone's been a little irresponsible with maybe there's some sort of gambling thing that's going on, or just general irresponsibility with the relationships. And now there's been a lot of concern of maybe being out in the cold. This doesn't just have to be with just finances, but yeah, just something here is like where we're feeling like there's a lot of stress, or maybe we're going through this sort of like personal winter right now. We're feeling this kind of down out in the cold, feeling beat up, not quite sure where we can find this. This is the Five of Pentacles, can be an interesting kind of like spiritual energy. I think that happens when you get into that place of lack. It helps you to, I think, try to find that opposing force, like to find the abundance in this thing, because this could be too where maybe this situation hasn't happened yet, but we're worrying about it. We're attracting that energy to us because of a certain fear or something along those lines. And it's just like, finding a way to redirect that energy in a sense there, to bridge, to form a different connection here. Let me get a clarifier with this, with the Five of Pentacles. Oh, interesting. So you got the Five of Cups in reverse. And this could be, where we were feeling maybe disappointed about a situation, where we're feeling, just this. The Five of Cups can be a pretty tough card as well, along with the Five of Pentacles here. But this to me is giving this. You can get out of the other side of this, but it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to feel through this thing, when we're talking about the emotions in the Five of Cups. And I'm getting there's some stuff of course, in the earthly, with the Pentacles dealing with the earthly realm. There's some maybe responsibilities, some obligations that we may not, we may need to cut our losses with some things with this Five of Cups here to the Five of Pentacles, and figure out how we're going to move forward. But the Five of Cups in reverse is, I think, an invitation of that potentiality of moving forward after going through maybe a tough sort of night or tough sort of situation that may have gone here. And I mean, that's interesting that the fives are generally an energy of conflict. And this is, that's interesting. Oh, and that's how fascinating, actually, now that I'm looking at that. All these five synchronicities here. How these fives came on the fifth line, and it talks about the wrath of heaven. Five is a martial energy, very kind of Gavora sort of energy, but yeah, just considering how this energy has progressed. Yeah, I think that there's something here. Process this thing, see where the stuff is starting to get out of hand, and see if we can get ahead of this. Try to get ahead of this, because I find with the Five of Pentacles, the energy hasn't happened, hasn't manifested yet, but it's just that there's this worry behind it. There's this the mind is just really fixated on, really wrapped up in the how things are maybe appearing, really wrapped up in the physical there, and needing to bring a bit more balance or yeah, just something to ponder there. Now let's get into your last card here, which talks about the destiny or the karma of the situation. Oh, all right. So you got the High Priestess here. The moon's out, and when with the High Priestess, I am getting this thing that if there's something going on internally right now, something that's happening within the kingdom of Shang, in the household, I think this is something that you need to keep to yourself right now. I think the more people that get in, the more thoughts and things that are involved in this, the more that it just kind of blurs the message. I think the High Priestess is a time to go internal, to listen to the intuition, listen to connect with, rendezvous with spirit, and find yourself a quiet space to really process what is happening right now. Where is this energy trying to guide you? What is the purpose of this situation here? And I am getting to, it's just like the choices that's needed to make. Trust your intuition. If something isn't feeling right, there's something there too. And this may be just something that you might be sensing in another person too. But I think the destiny of this situation is that you come out wiser from this thing, from whatever this situation may be. Because the High Priestess has this it's something, I'm looking for a deeper word than intelligence, but there's something here like wisdom, but it's something a little bit different than that. But it's something in that ballpark that I'm really kind of feeling with the High Priestess here. A deeper understanding of where things I think are going here, as far as like let me get a clarifier with the High Priestess and see what's going on with that. All right, so the High Priestess is clarified by the Four of Swords here in reverse. And this gives me that it's trying to find, I think, trying to make peace with what you've been intuiting, maybe here. It's like the High Priestess is like you've sensed like a situation. It's and I want to be like, there's something in here that I'm trying to get, where it's like being mindful about, I think, prognosticating about, like, kind of like fortune telling in things, like creating this sort of like self-fulfilled prophecy. I think with the Four of Swords here, the mind not being arrested, again, just allowing yourself to maybe get a bit. The High Priestess for me is always a time to get quiet, a time to observe what's going on in the internal waters that are happening there, so that you can find some peace, find some rest from strife here. But I think it is going to be maybe a bit of confusion, one that would maybe, it might drain the mental energies a little bit as you're feeling through these things. So definitely take some time. I really feel with this Four of Swords to get some rest. In the process, what's been going on here, allow more times for contemplation, possibly here, for some introspection. is what's kind of coming through with this energy here. But let's go ahead and get some advice from Mercury. All right, so you got the Three of Swords in reverse here, and let's switch back over. And with the Three of Swords, something may have come to an end. A contract, a situation, whatever this is. And again, we're intuiting ourselves. We're trying to figure out where to go from here. It feels like the priestess is giving me just like it's not free floating, but it just feels like there's a lot going on around her. And it's like it's trying to keep all this stuff still. And I mean, which it can be difficult. You got this thing that things are moving forward with the Six of Swords, but we got disharmony with the Two of Cups, the Five of Pentacles, the Four of Pentacles, the Five of Cups. So I think this is here too, this Three of Swords, remembering that all endings aren't all bad, let's say. Like, it gives me that with hindsight, because I think that's what, the High Priestess, like I said, represents the moon. And I think that's what sometimes the moon can bring, this energy of hindsight, where it's like we see why something needed to go a certain way. But again, it's always like in those moments, it's easier to say that than when you're out of it. Yeah, when you're in the thick of this thing, it can feel like a lot. I think it's just like, it's not to be overwhelmed and just allow this to be a lot, but allow yourself to feel through this thing as it makes sense for you, so that you can get that Queen of Swords clarity as far as like the direction as where you're going forward here. Because that Queen of Swords to that Six of Swords really does get like, something maybe deep down is gonna go some type of way there, but it's just like we're still haven't quite. Yeah, maybe it's just that doesn't make it great. That still doesn't feel like that's So, yeah, I think that this overall message is allow yourself that space and that grace to go through this thing. And if this is someone else that maybe is going through this thing, allow them that space and that grace to process this however they need to go through this. Because that's where I find like where Gemini is again a great, they get noticed as great communicators, but I also think Gemini can be a great listener too when it's worked on, because that communication is more than just talking. You know what I mean? So. All right, but I think that's all I got for you there. Very, very fascinating reading. But if you like that, if anything resonated with you, give it a thumbs up. And share this if you know somebody who can get some nuggets of wisdom from this. And then subscribe there, you High Priestess. Hit that bell button, get notified when I release videos each day. And then I'm going to get your surprise card or cards here. But if you want to go know what's going on with the other celestial bodies, there's a link for my other channel, the Alchemist 8, where I do weekly videos that come out every Mercury day. And, did I say advice from Mercury? I said, I meant to get advice from the moon. I hope the moon doesn't feel some type of way. But, yes, I do weekly videos that come out every Mercury day. And, yeah, just discuss about where the planets are transiting and how to work with those energies, so you can see where they are coming up in your chart and, what aspects may be forming and things like that, so you can better prepare and set intentions for these things. And then I also do these videos where I talk about different planetary placements in different signs and different houses. So if that's something that you want, just my thoughts on them. So if that's something that resonates with you, yeah, definitely check that out there. Got a playlist for you. But let's go ahead and get into your surprise card here, which talks about work. Well, you got the work without attachment card here. And this work, this reminds me of just like there are those chapters in your life that you're doing things and it doesn't feel like you're getting rewarded for it. But I don't think, it's this doing the work isn't doing it just to expect something. You know what I mean? I think that it's more so like doing it for the sake of growth, doing it for the sake of expansion. And the things that come with that are a bonus. But it's like, it's not getting to. And I think there's even an understanding here that the work that you're doing and the things that you're here to contribute to this world, that may not resonate with everyone. I think that that's something too. But know that if people do tend to fall out, that space gets filled with new people that will support this calling that you're doing. So I think that it's going, keeping that will. I have this got this candle here, keeping that will steady. Oh my gosh, and I love this too, how you got that flame kind of up in heaven here and this flame kind of down here. It's like spirit sees you. That's different. It's like spirit's like matching that light there, that calm. But I think there's something here that high priest is like trying to find that calm. Maybe this, and that might be something too where I made that little slip with Mercury. That might be what that's about too. Maybe it's been again too mental, and now it's needed to get more in the intuitive space with that high priestess with the lunar energies there. So yeah, and I'm getting something about like sometimes it's, maybe you may be feeling like this work, the thing that you're doing is thankless work. That's just another message that's coming through. But I think that there's something higher to that. Spirit thanks you for the work that you're doing. Again, just take that if that resonates with you. But I think that's all I got for you there. So until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep eyes on that moon, and I will catch you. Am I gonna catch you? On the next one, Jupiter Day.